City Wrestling.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of Grind City Wrestling. It's basically a bonus if you usually join us one time a week. This is our second podcast of the week, but we could not let the week end without talking about the huge news and the tragic losses that have taken place here in the professional wrestling business within just the last couple of days. I am Dustin Starr. Joining me right now is E-Rock Eric McMahon, and joining us here in just a few minutes is going to be Devin Walker. But we wanted to take a moment, Eric, to talk about, a couple of legends that we've lost over the last couple of days. First, WWE Hall of Famer, the hardcore legend, Terry Funk, passes away. And then the very next day, I think the entire world was shocked by the tragic passing of Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotundo. So we wanted to get together and just tell some stories and talk about these guys, man.
Yeah, I mean, when I read the Triple H tweet yesterday, it floored me. I was like, "Holy smokes!" You know, we were thinking his return was imminent at this point.
Oh my gosh! It was just reported that he was coming back. Like, I thought that he would be coming back at one of these pay-per-views coming up really soon. And then how did you find out about it? Because I received a text message.
I was in the text message with you.
Okay. So I received a text message from Big Daddy, who is Big John Dalton's dad. He sent me a text and said, "Is this real?" And I said, "Well, where did you get it?" And he said, "Everywhere." And so I immediately opened up Twitter, and it was all over the place. And
I got the text from Devin, that me and you were on, and I just wrote like question mark question. Remember, I was like question mark because I was like, what? But I mean, be that as it, I mean, it's crazy life we live, man. Crazy life these wrestlers live, and who knows at this point, right? The speculations is like, it was this, it was that, it was vaccine, it was a heart attack, it was COVID, it was who knows? You're right, you know what I mean? But I want to go back to, I want to start with Terry Funk because
let's do it.
We were talking about, you know, if we're going to talk about influential people in this business, I think Terry Funk, it doesn't even get the credit he deserves. And he gets a lot of damn credit.
That's true. Terry Funk passed away at the age of 79 years old. I recently saw a photo of him that was recent, like from his birthday, probably just a couple of months ago. And I'll tell you, it really hit me in the heart because it made me feel old, because Terry Funk was in a wheelchair and he definitely started looking his age, like we all are going to do. But I had not seen him in a long time, like a recent photo. So it just hit me. And then it took me back to all just the famous stuff. And one of the things that always sticks out for me that put Terry Funk on a whole nother level was Roadhouse.
No, that was good. Okay. I got to say this, right?
Well,
okay.
So for me, though, real quick, is that I always thought Roadhouse was such a famous movie and Terry Funk was in it, not Hulk Hogan. Terry Funk's movie was way better than anything Hogan was doing at the time. And me as a kid, I was thinking, shit, movie's better than Hulk Hogan. It's like, is he a bigger star? That Roadhouse put Terry Funk on a whole nother level for me.
100%. And that's what we were talking about, like the biggest moments of their career. Wanted to talk about the career. That is exactly what I was going to talk about. From like, me and you are both in the entertainment business. We cross parallel all different types of whether it be performing, media, whatever. We do it all. Okay. And Terry Funk, that I can imagine, was the wrestler who had the biggest role in a Hollywood film that crossed platforms, right? And it wasn't, he preceded The Rock. He preceded Hogan doing anything, The Miz, anybody. It
wasn't something wrestling. It wasn't something like wrestling related. It was a whole, it was a movie. It was a Hollywood blockbuster movie with Patrick Swayze. And I saw a wrestler and was immediately like, I love this movie, especially because Terry Funk's in it.
And let's be honest, Roadhouse is one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yes.
Whenever it is on, you watch Roadhouse.
We're going to have Devin on in just a minute to talk probably a little bit more about Bray Wyatt than we will Terry Funk, just because of the age difference. You and I are much similar in age. But the empty arena match, Terry Funk versus Jerry the King Lawler with Lance Russell calling the action, no fans inside the building. And this was like way back in the 80s. This was way before pandemic empty arena matches. But the term "my eye," where Terry Funk gets his eye taken out during that match. For some reason, him yelling "my eye" was just always symbolic. And then, of course, egg sucking dog. Terry
Well,
Funk would
here's
always
also
call you
something that I was thinking
egg
of.
sucking dog.
Here's something else that I was thinking of when we were getting ready to record this is Terry Funk was in a gimmick age of wrestling. Everything was very gimmicked. Terry Funk went everywhere, every territory, big shows, ECW, WCW, WWE, and he never was gimmicked. The only gimmick ever was maybe Chainsaw Charlie, and that was a nod to somebody else, right? But
right.
So his gimmick was he was Terry freaking Funk. He was a hardcore legend. He was a West Texas bad MFer. And that was his gimmick. So his gimmick was he wasn't a gimmick. It was him.
Yes. Now, the part of Terry Funk that you're talking about with Chainsaw Charlie, that was towards the middle to end part of like his prime. He had been past his prime at that point, and I'm using air quotes here because he was the NWA World Champion, major WCW/NWA guy. Come over just like Dusty Rhodes, and they made him wear polka dots. They put Terry Funk with Mick Foley as Chainsaw Charlie, and it introduced Terry Funk into a whole different generation of professional wrestling.
His idea, and I've read some interviews that it was almost like kind of like a tip of the cap to somebody else.
Very, very cool. But that we wouldn't know. So that was Vince McMahon's way, much like I say, Dusty Rhodes, of introducing this character into his world and putting some sort of gimmick on him. And man, I remember their fights with New Age Outlaws. And I mean, you go on Twitter right now and you can see all the greatest hits.
Yeah, the pushing of the
Terry Funk.
Dumpster off.
Absolutely. Now, so anything else about Terry Funk, and then we'll switch over to Bray Wyatt because I know that Devin's going to want to talk more about.
I just think think Terry Funk was the one who, I mean, the Roadhouse was huge. Like that was like number one. And then, he had legendary careers all through the world. Everybody knew who Terry Funk was. And I'm listen, if like I venture to say that he was a globally a bigger name than even a Bray Wyatt, which is crazy to say because Bray Wyatt is huge, but generationally everybody knew Terry Funk. And I don't want to say it's a great loss because I mean he lived a great life. He did a lot. He was an older, and
these are two different ball games. These are correct. Two different situations
here. Tragic as of what we're going to shift to now with Bray Wyatt, which is horrifically tragic. I mean, the guy was what, 37, 36?
36 years old, had 4 kids, of course, a wife. Excellent job and career. Now, the rumors that are circulating now, and I hate to even put them out there if we don't know that they're true, but then he had caught COVID and it affected a heart situation and he had a heart attack and passed away. That's the latest that we have as of right now with Grind City Wrestling. But yeah, Bray Wyatt passed away, age 36, man. How old are you?
I'm 44.
40.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. And here's what I'll say about Bray Wyatt is I can't think of a better like gimmick and persona coming in where you wouldn't even know that he was second generation to a degree because it was such a different gimmick than his dad and whatnot, and just that Wyatt family, everything. It was great.
When I worked with Bray in 2010 at FCW, I could not believe that they weren't trying to play off more of his second generation type of stuff. Now it was said on FCW television he was tag teaming with his brother Bo, so they kind of were, but it wasn't really, they weren't going all in, much like Joe Hennig when they weren't saying that Mr. Perfect was his dad for the longest time. They were kind of trying to do that to where these guys were standalone entities instead of just being a second generation.
Well, and I think it goes to say like how probably because everybody's saying is how creative of a mind in the business he had and whatnot, and so you put it on many levels as like he might not be a guy who didn't need that second generation rub. You know what I mean? He was such a talent on his own. Whereas like, listen, Cody's persona was he's the American Nightmare. It's clearly a play off his dad, right? Ted DiBiase Jr. before, I mean, he was the new $1 million man in that whole that whole gimmick there. And Bray Wyatt was just a guy who he came in, he had a fantastic look, right? and if he, I'm sure with the Fiend and Bray Wyatt and the ebbs and flows of that character is that a lot of his creative was solely behind that. So it's like, man, let's give this guy the ball and run. But my only thing that kind of really bothers me right now is that he never got that strap like he deserved. He never got that run. We've said on this podcast years ago, when are they going to just give this guy the ball and let him run with it? Because he has got such a fan base and he is awesome to watch.
Really looked like they were going in that direction until I'm not sure exactly what happened that took him off of television. But man, that
Well,
story
we
was
know what happened.
wild and crazy, and then we just never really got the payoff for it. Do you want to give your favorite Bray Wyatt story or favorite Bray Wyatt memory before we switch over to Devin?
My favorite Bray Wyatt moment was in person.
Oh,
Inaugural Fastlane.
okay.
And we thought the Undertaker was returning. And they had the Druids come down to the ring, pushing a casket. I can't even remember who the opponent was. I don't remember the situations, but I
You
remember
remember the moment.
yeah, exactly. I remember the moment. And they were pushing the casket down and they opened it up, and everybody in the arena, everybody watching around the world thought the Undertaker was in that casket, and they opened it up, and Bray Wyatt sat up with that shit-eating grin of like,
Mhm.
and it was just, I remember that. I'll never forget that moment because it was so damn cool.
All right, Eric, thank you for joining me. We're going to switch gears and bring in Devin Walker, baby. All right, Devin, I just got finished talking to Eric. We talked a lot about Terry Funk, a little bit about Bray Wyatt. I know Bray Wyatt was right up your alley, one of your favorites.
Bro, Bray was probably my favorite character in the last like 15 years. Like I tweeted yesterday, bro. He's like our modern day Taker. Like he was supposed to be my Taker, bro. Of course I had a Taker from the Attitude Era, but he was supposed to be the new Taker. He Taker gave Passion the torch in January when they choke slammed LA Knight in January on the I think it was the 30th anniversary of Raw. When you had Taker, no, I'm gonna give him the Bray. Bray hits him with the Sister Abigail. That was the passing of the torch, bro. That was supposed to be the moment where we're like, okay, he's a new Taker. We look, he transitions from that to the Fiend. The Fiend character gets over, and then he disappears, and then we never see him again on TV. So I'm crushed about it, bro. I'm crushed.
I know you're heading into the Chris Vernon show. You have just a couple of minutes, but what is your favorite memory? Your favorite Bray Wyatt thing of all time?
I think the walkout was probably my favorite thing about Bray, because it was on the Undertaker level where when you see those lights go dim and when you see his music start playing, everybody knows to hold up the flashlight, the fireflies, right?
Yeah.
The fireflies was my favorite thing about Bray, because everybody was on board, bro. When it went dark in the arena, you hit up that phone because you were a firefly in the arena. So rest in peace, Bray. I'm a big vintage t-shirt guy. So my guy Rosa threw me a lob, sent me a link on eBay because the Bray shirts are going crazy right now. Got me a good Wyatt family t-shirt for a good price on eBay. So I might be rocking it very soon. But now Bray is up in heaven with his former teammate.
Luke Harper.
Luke Harper.
Brody Lee.
Brody Lee, it's tough to see that, bro. But yeah, rest in peace, Bray. Gone but never forgotten.
Before you go, Terry Funk, that's a whole different generation. That was me and Eric. We're able to talk a lot about Terry Funk. We grew up watching Terry Funk. What about Terry Funk? What does he mean to you? He's big in the Attitude Era.
Yeah, it was big in the Attitude Era. I was more so, I'm a weirdo, bro. I actually remember Funk when he was in ECW. He was in ECW. In ECW. And I think that's the Funk I remember seeing, because he was like the super hardcore guy. If you see Terry Funk come out, like it's gonna be weapons. I may have seen him as a kid. I don't know if it was him or who has a brother at the Coliseum.
Dory Funk, Terry and Dory Funk,
Okay,
both world champions in the NWA. Yeah.
There you go. So I may have seen him as a kid as a kid. So yeah, rest in peace, Terry Funk. Rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. A tough weekend wrestling. It was so bad, bro. I hit you up yesterday, 5-star. I said we gotta record emergency pods for this to add on to our great Gunther interview. So yeah, we're doing this now. Rest in peace, Funk. Rest in peace, Bray.
And we'll continue the conversation next week on Grind City Wrestling. Devin, thanks. I know you're on Showtime right now.
Yeah. Hey, one more thing. I really hope, I know people are going to see this afterwards, but I really hope that WWE does a show just for Bray tonight. I really hope so. Hopefully, when people see this episode, it's already happened. But yeah, rest in peace, Bray Wyatt.
All right. Thanks, Devin.
Deuces.
Eric and Devin wanted to get together and talk a little bit about Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk. And as I mentioned, growing up as a wrestling fan in Memphis, you knew that Terry Funk and Jerry Lawler did not like each other. And I always felt that Terry Funk transcended pro wrestling, especially with the movie Roadhouse. One of the things that we'll talk about coming up on Grind City Wrestling probably next week is a little more about the Bray Wyatt situation. I was fortunate enough to work with Bray Wyatt in my time in FCW around 2010. And my very first match that I ever refereed in Florida Championship Wrestling was the Usos versus Bo and Bray, the brothers. And so I remember performing at the highest level that I possibly could here in Memphis that ended up getting me signed to a contract in WWE. And there I found myself in the middle of a tag team match with two great teams refereeing, and Bray literally coming to me and saying, "Rep, stay out of the way." So as I thought I was on that level, I was actually in the way, and Bray Wyatt let me know about that. So another little fun tidbit is during some of our time here last year with Memphis Wrestling, helping with extra talent with WWE. I don't know if I'm even supposed to say this, but who cares at this point? Big Swole Justin Cole, one of my buddies, was sending me messages about putting on the Bray Wyatt costume. It was for the Mountain Dew glow in dark match or whatever. And so they were testing it out in Memphis, and Big Swole was able to be a part of that. We were looking forward to a big return from Bray Wyatt. Me and the boys, Eric and Devin, we had talked about it over and over again. And so, again, thoughts and prayers go out to Terry Funk, Bray Wyatt, and then also here on the local independent wrestling level, rest in peace to our friend Nick Grimes. I wrestled with Nick Grimes in many, many locker rooms throughout the years. And so our thoughts and prayers are with all three of those guys. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dustin Starr. This is Grind City Wrestling, a very special edition, an extra edition of Grind City Wrestling. And if you'd like to share your thoughts, go ahead and put those in the comments. We'd love to talk to you about it, and then also possibly share them right here on this podcast. Once again, I am Dustin Starr. Thank you for joining us on a bonus edition of Grind City Wrestling.